Hi everybody, welcome to Line of the Week number 154, Motif Development Using Melodic Rhythms. It's time again to take another rhythm, add notes to it, and then improvise with it over tunes. This is called motif development. Common tools improvisers use to develop motifs include the following. The original motif, meaning take a melodic rhythm and add notes to it. Variations, meaning same notes, different rhythm, or same rhythm, different notes. Extension, adding new material immediately before or after to either the original motif or a fragment thereof. Fragmentation, using a part of the motif. Rhythmic displacement, starting the motif on a different beat. Augmentation, making the time values longer, or diminution, making the time values shorter. For an in-depth explanation of these ideas, check out Hal Crook's book, How to Improvise. Before I get to the line of the week, and so we're all on the same page, here are the chords to the progression. The chords are A minor 7 to D7 to 2 measures of G major 7, and then D minor 7 to G7, and then C major 7 for 2 measures. In addition to standard notation, tab, chords, and chord scales, I also include hammer-ons, pull-offs, left-hand fingering, and right-hand fingering. I include the left-hand fingering, which I modified from Tim Miller's 2-1-2 approach. I also include the right-hand fingering in case you're interested in the finger-style approach that I use. Here are the chord scales I'm using for this week's line. I use the notes from the chord scales for two things. First, as a source of notes for improvising, and secondly, to determine tensions to use for comping. The chord scales are G major to E flat melodic minor to 2 measures of D pentatonic to C major to A flat melodic minor to G pentatonic for 2 measures. Here's a melodic rhythm I'm using this week. This motif is taken from Jerry Bergonzi's book, Volume 4, Melodic Rhythms Used with Permission. You can try applying this rhythm to your own music and develop it using some of the tools I described earlier. You'll find that you come up with new ideas that you would not have thought of otherwise. Plus, you can use this process not only for improvisation, but also when writing your own tunes in whatever genre you play in. Remember, it's not about memorizing licks. It's about a process of applying concepts to your own music. Here's the line of the week with the Guitar Pro backing I use to make sure I'm getting the notes and the rhythm accurate. So let's look specifically at this week's line of the week. In measure 1, you have the original motif. In measure 2, you have a rest. Measure 3, a variation of the original motif. Measure 4, another rest. In measure 5, there's another variation of the original motif. In measures 6 to 7, there's an extension of the original motif consisting of eighth notes, followed immediately by another variation of the original motif. In measure 8, there's a rest. Also, note the point of resolution of tension by half step. At the point of chord change, it's important to resolve non-harmonic tones, meaning avoid notes or disagreeable tones, by half step to an agreeable note. You can resolve tension either directly, meaning immediately, or indirectly within a beat and a half. In other words, at the point of chord change, you only leap from a note if it's agreeable, meaning harmonic, to both the chord of the moment and the next chord. Otherwise, you need to resolve the note, preferably by half step. In this line of the week, check out the end of measure 6 going into measure 7. Note E flat, which is tension flat 13 under the G7 chord, is resolving by half step to note E under the C major 7 chord. So that's all for this week. Thanks very much for watching, and we'll see you next week.